The sermon this past weekend was on the painful miracle, which is about the crucifixion and the gift of salvation. Now, when I mentioned to Pastor Matthew that this was my topic, he said, "Oh, that's a good fit for you." And my daughter said the same thing. And the reason for that is because I became a Christian at the age of 38. So most of my life I did not have that gift. And the last 24 years I've had, so I can see the contrast. So really, I grew up in a family that was not a Christian and was highly dysfunctional, and I made some bad choices, and I really had a life that was full of pain and just great voids. What I did have was a great relationship with my mother. My two brothers, and I were very bonded. We had a great relationship. And at one point in time in 1993, actually, we started coming to Bay Hope Church. And we listened to Pastor Matthew doing the sermons, and we really liked what he was saying. We thought it was very encouraging and very supportive. And we really liked it. Well, that same year, my mother was diagnosed with cancer. And 6 months later, she ended up dying from cancer. And a week after she died, I was sitting by myself, and it was just in such a terrible pit of despair. I just had no idea what I was going to do with my life. Everything I knew and I trusted was gone. And everything I'd assumed about life was gone. And I didn't know how I was going to go forward, and I really didn't want to go forward. But I was sitting there by myself one day, a week after she died, and just suddenly, everything that I'd heard Pastor Matthew talk about in his sermons, all the scripture, it suddenly made sense to me. And it really made that 14-inch drop from my head to my heart. And I just knew all the promises that I'd heard were true, and that I did have that gift of salvation, and we all do. And I just came out of that in such gratitude for what Jesus had done for me. I just could not get enough of him. I couldn't serve enough. I couldn't read enough about him. I couldn't read enough of the Bible. So I just hope in this last 24 years, my hope is that I continue along that path of gratitude for him. And just to close, I wanted to share a scripture with you that really depicts what I feel is kind of my situation. It's Psalm 40, verse 2. It's, "He lifted me out of the slimy pit, out of the mud and mire. He set my feet on a rock and gave me a firm place to stand." So thank you for listening to my story, and I hope to see you this weekend at Bay Hope.